What is the TF2 community? That might sound like a silly question, but it really isn't. We often hear people, from regular players to social media influencers, talk about the TF2 community as if the meaning of that expression is self-evident, when it really isn't. Proof of that is the great diversity of answers I got from my subscribers when I asked them in a community post how to explain what is the TF2 community to someone who's not familiar with online gaming. I could see some common understanding on those answers, but not two of them were identical, and I find that fascinating. So come along and hear me out as I discuss what the TF2 community is, what it isn't, and if it is a real thing or a fabricated concept. To avoid misunderstandings, I feel I have to preface this video by saying that I'm not trying here to impose my point of view about this topic, and I welcome you to discuss your own ideas on the comment section. I would really appreciate that. So, to start, I'd like to discuss some common ideas people have about the TF2 community. First, some say the TF2 community is the same as the TF2 player base, the group of people that play TF2. I can understand where this definition comes from, but I think it excludes a lot of people who are part of the community in different ways. How many YouTubers, artists, workshop creators, and general figures who contributed a lot to TF2 don't play the game anymore on a regular basis? I don't believe they are not part of the TF2 community simply because they are not playing the game, as their contributions to this thing we call the TF2 community surpasses the need to be actively playing TF2. Because of that, I believe the player base is a part of the community, but the community should not be defined only by the player base alone. Second, I've seen multiple people expressing on different occasions the idea that a TF2 community is an arbitrary definition, used by social media influencers to gather support for their personal interests. In that sense, the TF2 community wouldn't be a real organic institution. The logic behind that idea is as follows. Because there are a lot of different people playing TF2 with different values and perspectives, it would be impossible for them to form a community together. That's why, in that sense, the TF2 community would be a fabrication created by YouTubers and such with selfish interest in mind. I can also understand where this idea is coming from, given that we already saw in the past social media figures trying to leverage the support of TF2 fans for, sometimes, debatable objectives. However, I think that this understanding of the TF2 community really misses the point of what a community is. I agree that people with extremely different or antagonistic personal values could have a hard time enjoying being around each other, building a close relationship, and becoming friends. I don't think that's impossible, as I believe different people can get along, but I'll admit it isn't what usually happens. However, that doesn't mean those people couldn't be part of the same community, given that the concept of community does not imply friendship or even mutual enjoyment or agreement. Now, I will not pretend I can give a definitive meaning to the word community. Multiple disciplines of social and human sciences have been debating for a long time what it means to be part of a community. But I think we can get some utility out of the meaning registered in the dictionary, because it reflects the common use of this word. So I went to check on my English dictionary of choice, the Merriam-Webster. I'll display their main definitions on screen so you can check them out. You can see that what's predominant in those definitions isn't the notion of friendship or mutual enjoyment or agreement, but the idea of having common interests or features. That means that the word community defines a group of people that share something in common, regardless of whether they are friends or not, of whether they agree with each other or not. And that makes a lot of sense if you think about it. That's why we sometimes see people refer to neighborhoods as being communities, for example. I don't personally know all my neighbors, and I'm sure I don't hold the same opinions and values as they do. But we are a community regardless of that, because we have something in common. We live in the same general area. In that sense, a community isn't a group of people who know and enjoy each other. A community is a group of people with some feature in common. I got curious by that and went to check the etymology, the linguistic origins of the word community. At first, my guess was that it had something to do with common unity, but I was wrong. The word comes from Latin communis and means common or shared by many, which reinforces the understanding that a community is simply a group of people who share a common feature and has nothing to do with close personal relationships or mutual agreement. Therefore, a community can be composed by complete strangers and even people who disagree with each other and hold antagonistic values. So, if two people share an interest on TF2, they are part of the same community. That's why I do not abide by this idea that a TF2 community is impossible or simply an arbitrary definition. If there is something in common among different people, then that's all a community needs to exist. And this is why I believe that the TF2 community is an organic entity, not a fabricated one. Because the TF2 community is, simply put, the collective of people who have some common interest in this game. But I also think there's more to that. The word communis, from which community was derived, is formed by two Latin morphemes, con, which meant bring together, and munus, which meant a lot of stuff, including burden, duty, obligation, gift, service, according to what sources I could find. That makes the situation even more interesting because you could then extrapolate the notion of community to something like the burden we carry together, the gift we possess together, the duty we accomplish together. That ties in with the last thing I found during my quick research about this topic. I found about a concept from psychology called sense of community. It seems these two psychologists, Macmillan and Chavis, have written influential articles about the topic, and from what I could gather, they say that the sense of community, among other things, stems from a shared emotional connection that's partially built from a shared history. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot like that in regards to TF2. I've already talked about this in previous videos, but I genuinely think that TF2 is more than just a game. It's part of a culture and part of the identity and personal history of a lot of people around the world. Playing TF2 throughout all these years, interacting with other players in servers, YouTube comment sections, Steam discussion pages, Twitter and Reddit, hearing from YouTubers what they think about the game, and I myself elaborating my thoughts on videos while reading responses from viewers, all of that feels like a huge shared experience we have with the rest of the world. And I imagine you can relate to what I'm trying to say here. That is, I think, the defining trait of the TF2 community. We've been playing this game and talking about it for so many years, and we've experienced so much with it that it has become a shared trait in our existence. It has become a part of our collective identity. I believe that's what makes us a community, the TF2 community. But what do you think? This is a complex topic and I'd like to know your perspective about it. Do you disagree with something I've said in the video? Have you ever stopped to think about this topic in such a manner? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends, subscribe so you don't miss my future content, and consider becoming a channel member to support my work if you are a fan of it. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.